One of the things about my World War II rationing challenge is that it's made me really aware of what I already own. And yes, that's true in my wardrobe, but it's also true of my crafting supplies, my yarn, and particularly my fabric. And of course, one of the things that I have a lot of is scrap fabric. I'm sure that you are the same. If you're a quilter or a dressmaker or you do any kind of sewing, fabric is expensive and we want to make the most of it. And that can make it really hard to just throw away scraps. And I am definitely guilty of hanging on to them with the hope that I will one day be able to use them in the future. I think this also comes from my work in the theatre, where we do a lot of mending and altering of clothes. And so it's really actually quite handy if you, say, hemmed a pair of trousers to keep that little bit of fabric that you've cut off in case you then have to mend them later. But I haven't been doing a lot of sewing recently because of my neck injury, and I've basically just really lost the love of sewing, and I'm trying to get back into it this year. And one of the things that really helped me really get back into knitting was, of course, doing my stash busting challenge. I found that really creative and inspiring, and so I'm hoping doing something similar with my fabric scraps and my eventually wider fabric stash should help ignite that spark for sewing again. So I think it's time that I reveal the scale of the problem, as it were. Oh, here it is, my bag of shame. I don't like to think of myself as a hoarder. And actually, now I think about it, I have been very good over the past year of just giving things away. I donated a lot of my sort of more appropriate for quilting fabrics to local charities, after school groups, things like that. But I've already gotten rid of 2 big bin bags full of scrap fabric. But there's still this one. And this is the one that has been a lot harder for me to tackle because I do a lot of costume making, I do a lot of costume alterations. So the things in here are all a bit random. There's lots of offcuts of shirts, old clothes that have been cut up to patch something else, or where we had 2 of something and I mashed them together to make one slightly different or bigger dress. I've got like lots of cut off hems. So like, for example, I made a Morticia costume for the Addams family, and this was a pre-bought dress, but it was sort of a pencil dress, and so I cut the bottom off, bought some coordinating fabric and made it the proper sort of mermaid shape. Like I've got here an old skirt that I cut up to get some wool, pink wool fabric for something. I've got some other fabric offcuts, like you might recognize this jersey fabric. I made a dress out of this and I made myself some pajamas out of this. So I've had this for quite a while, and there's a lot of jersey scraps in here because they're a lot harder to do kind of any kind of patchwork or crafting with, and I haven't really known what to do with them. There's 4.5 kilos of it, 4.5 kilos. And I was trying to come up with a way to sort of challenge myself to use this and measure it in the same way that I do with my yarn. And I thought weight would probably be the best option rather than try to do surface area or pieces, or I suppose I could have, tried to just get through the bag, but that doesn't seem entirely manageable. Anyway, I've made a start. Because I tend to be a dressmaker or a costume maker, I don't tend to make accessories. I don't really tend to make interiors projects, and I was inspired to try my hand at patchwork. You can probably just see how there's like quilters because none of the seams match up. But I made this little quilted bag as a sort of little sewing kit. I just used a zip that I had, that's why it's navy blue and doesn't really go with it, and I quilted it by hand. I used some scraps of batting. And I really enjoyed this project. It was very therapeutic for me in a way that I haven't found dressmaking therapeutic in quite a while. So I'm hoping, I don't know whether I'll do the crazy patchwork route with the embroidery. I have been enjoying a lot of those videos though, so maybe I will try it. I honestly have no idea where this is going to take me. My only hope is that I can get rid of this massive bag of stuff. I've had a handful of ideas about what to do with some of this scrap fabric, particularly the jersey, because it's so difficult to use up. And you might see here that I've got a very chunky 10mm crochet hook, because for ages I've been wanting to make Sagan a dog bed. Now, you might have seen in my stash busting series me mention this. Sagan is my partner's Hungarian Vizsla. He loves to dismember anything with stuffing inside, and so beds tend to get destroyed pretty quickly. And so he can't be trusted with anything other than like a blanket as a bed. It just gets ruined. And I have wondered if I could use my jersey scraps and turn them into sort of a t-shirt yarn and crochet him a bed, because then it would sort of be soft and squishy and sturdier than a blanket, but he couldn't destroy it. Or at least it would be more difficult for him to destroy it. So I have no idea how many jersey scraps I have, or if this is even possible, or if I have enough to make this work. But I mean, it can't hurt, right? Should we just give it a go? An experiment, right? This is what this is all about. Have I got a pair of scissors in here? No, I do not. Where's the microphone? So my plan is basically to just cut these fabric scraps into strips, join them together, knot them together even. It doesn't have to be beautiful, does it? It's a dog bed. It's going to get covered in hair and grime. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens. Not even going to look up a pattern for this. Let's just see whether it works first of all. Oh, okay. I mean, it's not the easiest to work with. Possibly, I just need a bigger hook. Or I need to cut the fabric skinnier. Doing that thing where you go back down. So I've done 3 in the end. I'm going to go back down the other side. That was the first stitch. I'm only using single crochet. It's not really lying very flat. What do we think? Do you see the vision? I could buy a bigger hook, but I don't have one, so I want to do crafting now. Where's the thing gone? Bloody hell, down there. I mean, very slow progress, this. But slow crafting, right? That's the thing. Mindful dog bed crocheting. Okay, so I feel like I have a proof of concept here. This will work. I just think my crochet is bad. And so I think I was trying to make it an oval. I think I'm just going to do a circle, at least to start off with, where I'm sort of, it's growing exponentially. Largely because I know how to crochet a circle. And now I know a bit more about my tension at the beginning. I think that will really help. So I've been working away on my crochet dog bed. This is how far I've gotten. I had a little bit of a difficulty turning it from a circle into an oval, but I figured it out in the end. I had a couple of attempts at it. It's very dense, it's very squishy and stretchy, but this is it. I've run out of all my jersey fabric. And I mean, while it might be a sort of dog rug for maybe a Chihuahua or possibly a Spaniel, it's nowhere near Vizsla size, Sagan size. And Sagan loves to rest his head on a pillow. I often catch him in bed, like head on the pillow, fast asleep, like in a human position. He likes a pillow. So I wanted to make a bolster around the edge so that he could have a little pillow to rest his little sleepy head on. And I don't have enough fabric. So I have some options. I can switch to using non-stretch fabric now, but I don't think that's going to work. And I think it's mostly just going to fray everywhere. I think it's going to be a really tedious process. Now, Woody also likes to sew. And he, being a man, tends to wear t-shirts, so he mostly sews jersey. I'm sure he must have some scrap fabric hanging around here somewhere, but I can't find it, and I suspect it's under the stairs, and that involves moving the table, and I'm not strong enough to do that on my own. So I have to pause on my dog bed for now. It has inspired me to sew some jersey projects of my own, though. It has made an almost entirely insignificant dent in the bag of scrap fabric. I mean, if I weighed it, I don't know, I don't think we'd even be at 500 grams, if I'm honest. So I think the dog bed is going to have to pause for now, because even if I do end up using Woody's fabric, or I end up making something else out of jersey and add the jersey scraps to the dog bed project, it doesn't tackle the rest of it. So I think in terms of this video, I'm going to see what happens, see how long it takes me to get enough jersey scraps to finish the dog bed. And in terms of the scrap fabric busting, I'll just have to move on to something else. Actually, that's a good point. Let's weigh this now. Actually, it's 550 grams. So 500 grams has gone out of the stash bag or the scrap bag. That's really exciting. Part of me's like, to make this more satisfying, I might weigh any scrap fabric I add, to it, so that the total goes up and down. But anyway, we've made a start. 500 grams out of 4.5 kilos has been reclaimed. Will not go to landfill. Woohoo! Now I need to decide what I want to do next.